23:23, Matthew 23:23. Woe to you, teachers of the law, Pharisees, you hypocrites. Wait, I missed it. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah. You give 1/10 of your spice, your mint, your dill, your cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain at a gnat and you swallow a camel. Strain at... How many of you know gnats are really small?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very small. And they're annoying. Where do they even come from? You know that? I bring some tomatoes out of the garden, and I let one go a little too long, and all of a sudden there's all these gnats flying around. Like, where'd they even come from? You know, it's like, you know, many years ago, people used to think that as food rotted, it became the gnats, and then they flew off of it. What? Yeah, they didn't know any better. They had weird ideas. They did bloodletting back then. What do you want? But anyway, so the gnat is the smallest of the unclean animals. Very small. One of the things that you could do is if you had like a glass of wine, you could have like a little screen that you put over the top of it. And then that way gnats couldn't get into your wine and make your wine unclean. So then you can move the screen, drink your wine, put it back, you know. So you could strain that gnat.
Extra protein.
Yeah, you can strain that. No, because it's an unclean animal. If you drank it, then you became unclean. So they were very careful about this small thing. For them, it was giving their mint, their aloe, their cumin. But the big thing, the camel, which is the largest of the unclean animals, they swallowed it, he said. Okay. And what is he saying? He's like, yes, tithe of everything, which is what they were doing. They were tithing even the mint out of their gardens. Even the littlest little spices they had, they made sure they gave 10%.
Yeah.
How many of you know the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, the scribes were good at following laws sometimes?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They were good at tithing. He's like, yeah, do that. Good job straining that gnat out. But here's the problem. You're missing the more important matters. Justice, mercy,
And
faithfulness.
Yeah.
And justice, I mean, they would do unjust things. They would go, they weren't afraid to take, property away from a widow. How many of you know that's wrong? They weren't afraid to push aside an orphan and just neglect them and just be gone with them. Sell them into slavery, whatever. Get rid of them. They thought nothing of that. How many of you know widows and orphans are very precious to God?
Yes, they are.
Those that are in true need are very precious to God. That's widows and orphans. Fall into that category. And those were some of the ones they were willing to not have justice for.
That's right.
To not have mercy. Mercy? Someone's sick, someone's crippled, someone's demon possessed, and they tell Jesus you can't deal with that on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
That's not mercy.
No.
Mercy is like, yeah, you know what, Jesus, you can do it. Today's a good day. Let's do it while you're here. Let's take care of this. Let's deal with it. No mercy. They didn't have mercy. Yeah, what would they do if they saw someone that was beaten on the side of the road, that was hit by robbers and beaten and left for dead? What would they do?
Leave them there. Leave them there.
Walk on the other side of the road?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be a dead body. I don't want to become unclean. You know who Jesus said was the good one in that? A Samaritan. Mm-hmm. A Samaritan. Yeah. I thank God I'm not a dog, a woman, or a Samaritan. That was one of their prayers. Samaritan?
Yeah, it was.
Samaritan? That's like a dog. Or a woman. Sorry. That's their view. They didn't think too highly of them.
Well, women had no value.
They didn't. That came from Christ. Yeah. So here these guys are, and they're willing to do the smallest thing, but they're not willing to do those things that are really important. And what was those things that was important? It wasn't giving that last little scrap of what you were giving, although you should do that. It was loving your neighbor as yourself.
To do most of the time.
Yeah. Love your neighbor as yourself. But you know why they couldn't do that? Because the only way you can really do that properly is to start with what? Loving the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And so those places and those people that have a form of godliness but deny the power thereof, they're not going to have true love for others.
That's right.
They'll have fake love. They'll have something that looks like love. Here's what they would rather do. They would rather give somebody that's hungry food rather than helping them learn how to be productive and earn food and make food and produce food.
That's right.
It's the fish thing. They would rather give somebody a fish than to teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
And take them to a stock pond. So here you go, have fun.
Less time and less energy, and gave them more time to exalt what prestige they had.
They would rather give money to help people
Than to teach them how
than to go to their neighbor and help them.
Yes.
They would rather give money to some cause than to give a kind word to the person at the grocery store when they check out.
Yeah.
You know what? They would rather put something in the little offering thing that's there at the grocery store, some change. Oh, there's my loose change. Look, I'm giving. Than to encourage that person that's behind the counter. Make eye contact with them. Tell them something nice. Tell them something good. Help make them feel good about life.
When a kind
Tell them to be
word
blessed.
will help.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll feel like they're walking in love. They'll feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do. Why? Because they've got that form of godliness. And if anybody looked, they'd see them giving. If anybody looked, they wrote a check. If anybody looked, they were at that soup kitchen. If anybody asked, they made it to the service. Straining at a gnat, swallowing a camel. Where's the faithfulness to God? Where's the love for God? Okay, I'm done. Anybody got anything?